Good morning, Edwina. Can I just read this to you to start with? Andy Prendergast, who's the GMB National Secretary, has said that health workers have had enough of public schoolboys who run the government and simply don't care about their pay demands. Is this to some extent a class war going on?
No, it isn't, Bev. Good morning. It's a conspiracy. Now, you know, and Stephen knows, that I'm not normally a conspiracy theorist, but a number of very senior people in the trade unions, some very, very old-fashioned people with some Marxist or communist sympathies, one or two of them, people who also, of course, are funding the Labour Party and have always done so. These people have put their heads together and said, let's create a winter of discontent. Let's make life extremely difficult for this government, recognising that since we're on our third Prime Minister this year, and the Conservatives are entirely responsible for that, I accept that, and that this is a government that will have to give in. Now, Conservative governments have given in the past. I remember Ken Clarke as Secretary of State for Health many years ago saying, oh, for heaven's sake, just pay the nurses, and giving them an 18% pay rise. Now, the problem with that is, first of all, it encourages everybody else to do exactly the same. Secondly, of course, it then builds in inflation into the system, which makes life even harder, as we've heard described, for everyone else, and particularly for the majority of workers who are in the private sector. The private sector can't pay that kind of wages, or the business goes bust. Now, what we have to get our head around, in my view, is that we need to tweak legislation if necessary, and we need to use it. Most of these strikes are being called on a minority vote. If you take the ambulance drivers, for example, they've had 83,000 yes, but they've got 330,000 members. So that strikes me as a no. And when it comes to the Royal College of Nursing, the same thing applies. In England, which is by far the bulk of our population, the bulk of our National Health Service trusts, a minority, fewer than half of the trusts, actually produced a positive vote for a strike. Now, as I read that, Bev, it means they don't have a mandate for a strike. And they certainly don't have a mandate to cause pain and misery, to have picket lines where patients in pain have got to cross a picket line, being put up with all the abuse that results. And there could well be a Labour MP on that picket line as well, encouraging the strikers, instead of helping those people for whom these great public services were set up in the first place.